Michigan State heads out west to face USC. 3-0 versus 3-0 in a matchup that is having at 11 o'clock at night on Saturday. What a matchup. What a time to be alive. What a time to be watching this game. How are you feeling about the 11 o'clock matchup, Liam? And how are you feeling just about the time in itself?
Uh, I guess it's not ideal. I don't think it plays to MSU's advantage, but I've kind of been thinking if I'm complaining about it when I'm 20, I don't know who's not going to complain about it. So for me, it's whatever. It'll be fun. But for other people, for working people and people that got kids to wake up and attend to, I don't blame them one bit for being upset.
Yeah, and also MSU historically hasn't been good, or any Big Ten school hasn't been good headed out west to any
No.
school. And it doesn't help that it's 11 o'clock this time, 8 p.m. at that time against a USC team that obviously has a ton of momentum going for it, that has looked pretty good so far. But they're coming off of a performance that against Purdue, which is probably their best opponent that they've played. It wasn't as good of a performance as they have had, but obviously with Jayden Maiava, great quarterback, maybe one of the best quarterbacks in the country right now. How are you just feeling about kind of that matchup that they had against Purdue? Do you think that should give MSU a little bit more confidence? Do you think that should worry them a little bit more? Because the spread is 17.5 right now.
That's a long spread, let's face it. But I don't think what you got to remember about that Purdue game is I want to say it was delayed for like 3 hours. So that always is going to throw a little factor in, if nothing else. I mean, you don't know quite who handled it better. But yeah, let's face it, they didn't look like world beaters like they did against Missouri State and Georgia Southern. And I mean, even Georgia Southern, they gave up 20, and Missouri State's one of FBS's newest teams. So I don't know. I don't think. Um, I think if nothing else, you can look at Purdue and be like, well, if you're MSU, obviously beat them last year, but State did their own struggles last year. Completely different team though, so I
Yeah.
don't think there's too much stock into that. Um, but yeah,
And there was also that crazy play that I saw that I'm pretty sure it was a throwback
yeah.
to the quarterback, and somehow he ended up scoring a touchdown out of it instead of an interception.
Oh, for Purdue,
Yeah.
yeah, there was that, and then actually the thing is, I mean, they scored 33, but 7 of them came from a pick six on like a 350-pound lineman. So right there, they only put up 26 points of offense. I don't know. Maybe State will take more away from that than I was initially anticipating.
Yeah, they might, but obviously this is a USC team. Like I mentioned, Jayden Maiava is their starting quarterback. What are
Yeah,
your thoughts on him, the wide receiver core? Because if you look at both of them, like you just see why this USC team can be so good offensively.
yeah, no, for sure. So you look at just to give the audience a little background. Jayden Maiava comes into this game with 989 pass yards, which is leads the Big Ten and is good for fifth in the country. Funny enough, he's only 2 yards behind Dylan Lonergan for fourth. So we'll see two of the top 5 passers in college football in the first 4 weeks. So that's something you can look at going forward for at least the secondary and stuff like that. But I just think they're one of the things about letting in like USC into the Big Ten is some of the speed that they'll have is not seen consistently throughout the Big Ten. Like, yeah, obviously Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan, I don't want to say it, some of them, but will have that speed. But now you've got guys coming in for USC, their receiver core, Makai Lemon, Jacoby Lane, and then true freshman actually is listed as wide receiver 3 on the depth chart, Tanook Hines, sorry. Lemon, obviously, Belenikov preseason watch list. He's got 16 catches for 311 yards, 2 touchdowns. Jacoby Lane actually has 9 catches for 239 yards, which is a good for a 26.5 yard average, which right there, I mean, that's a 19-yard average for Lemon, 26.5 yards for Jacoby Lane. And then you mentioned this morning when we were just talking off the air. Lake McCree, the tight end, he's got only 7 catches but for 173 yards, which is good for a 24.7 yard average. So clearly, this offense has been hitting the big play all season long. And we've talked about how State hasn't really played anyone, neither has USC. Purdue and Boston College, I think, would play a great football game. So, yes, these numbers could be inflated, but it clearly they're not looking to just run the ball and throw 5 yard passes and move on with their day. They're looking to hit big plays.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And this is a secondary for MSU that you mentioned. Like they've given up quite a few yards to obviously starting quarterback. You have Boston College's starting quarterback that, in my opinion, might be one of the better quarterbacks MSU has seen this year, probably the best one so far. You have
Yeah,
Maiava, in my opinion, might be the best quarterback Michigan State sees this year. Kind
yeah,
of depends
yeah,
on where Bryce Underwood is when he comes into East Lansing. But then you also have to mention, I know you mentioned Lake McCree. We obviously have to worry about Makai Lemon, Jacoby Lane, right? Like they're going to be their main guys. They're going to be the wide receivers. They're going to be the guys that are going to be lined up on the corners. But I think Lake McCree could be someone to really keep an eye on for because one, we've seen the linebacker core, even though, in my opinion, it might be the strongest group that Michigan State has. We've seen the linebacker core have issues covering wide receivers, have issues covering athletic tight ends. I think he's going to be a guy that's really going to maybe give MSU a little bit of an issue. I would love to
yeah,
see if Jordan Hall is going to be kind of on him or Wayne Matthews. I know Wayne Matthews
yep,
maybe hasn't had the season as he's wanted to have it, but I think he's probably still the strongest covering tight end that this team has. So you really obviously have to worry about just the wide receivers in general. You really can't allow that big play. And MSU's been pretty good at not allowing the big play. Like they've been here or there. They haven't obviously given up a long touchdown, but they've given up 15, 20, 30-yard passes, which you can't really
yeah.
afford that in this game.
No,
But tight end is where I'm going to really keep an eye on because if we get beat up by another tight end like we were all of last year, it's going to be a long day, and it doesn't even matter what those wide receivers do.
yeah, no, for sure. And I think just the susceptibility to the big play for State. I mean, like you said, we haven't given up a long touchdown, but in our recap on Sunday, we were talking Youngstown hit a considerable amount of 20-yard plus passes. So that just raises concern. If Youngstown can hit those, what's USC going to be able to do? And I think like you said, you gotta if because it's going to be hard to cover Lemon and Lane no matter what. And so if you're also not covering tight ends like Lake McCree, like it could get long pretty quickly.
Yeah, and also with like Lemon, like you talked about, he was on a award early on in the year for best wide receiver in the country. You might
Yep.
need a help over top of
Oh yeah.
him. Like he's going to
Yep.
be someone that you might have a Nakai Martinez, maybe a Malik Spencer over top, which
Yep.
means you're going to have one-on-one opportunities with either McCree or the other wide receivers. So you're really going to have to depend on those cover linebackers, those safeties, those corners who really continue to do well. And when you don't have a pass rusher, a pass rusher that has struggled, and you have so much talent in this wide receiver and tight end room, that's a real scary situation. And then you
Yep.
also have to think about this running back room for USC. I feel
Yeah.
like we haven't talked enough about
Nope.
this USC running game because this is an offense that's been, I believe, averaging over 600 yards per game. They've been putting up 30, 40 points. We've seen MSU done that, but that's against Youngstown State. Like, this isn't a Youngstown State type defense. This running back room is pretty good. Now, is it elite? I don't necessarily know, but they've been able to run the ball too.
Yeah. So when I was looking into it, I honestly cannot. I knew the pass game and Maiava was going to be big concern, and for Spartan fans hoping for a win, I didn't get any more optimistic when I looked into the running game. They've got it's a two-man tandem. It's Wayman Jordan Jr. and Eli Sanders. And I was looking into Wayman Jordan a little bit because they're both average over 7 yards a carry, by the way. There's first that. Second, Wayman Jordan, he's got 286 total yards, 3 touchdowns. He was actually the number one JUCO running back coming out this past year. committed to USC after putting up 1,600 yards and 20 touchdowns at his JUCO, averaging 135 yards a game. So this dude knows how to find holes and run the ball. Obviously, he's playing Michigan State. He's not playing junior college on Saturday, but he's run for 3 touchdowns, 7 yards a carry. Still, he's translated. And then the other one is Eli Sanders, who's actually a 2-time transfer from initially from Iowa State to New Mexico and then New Mexico to USC. He's got 160 rush yards, 7 yards a carry. I think Jordan was actually 7.3 yards a carry. Sanders is 7. He's got 2 touchdowns, 4 catches for 88 yards too in the pass game. So there's just the reality is there's playmakers all over the offensive side of the ball for USC. I think you got 2 returning O linemen. So Michigan State's defense has their hands full. That's the truth of the matter.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And then you also have Michigan State's probably biggest strength going up against this run game. Like if you look at just how good Michigan State has been with stuff rate, like you have Alex Van
Yep.
Sumeren, you have
Grady Kelly.
Like they've been great stopping the run. And outside of the one big touchdown run that Youngstown State had, I believe they still only maybe averaged 3 yards on the ground.
Yeah.
Like Michigan
Yep.
State's been great. And this is going to be one of those games that defensive line is going to have to be great again. Because if you want to pull off this upset, you cannot allow USC to run the ball effectively, in my opinion, just because of how much they have offensively at the wide receiver room, at the tight end room. We've talked probably enough about that. And also the quarterback as well. If you allow USC to run the ball, like it's going to be a long night, and it still might be even a long night if you stop it, because guess what? They still have those weapons. So I think it's truly going to be probably a very long night for this defense for MSU. And I think they're either one, going to have to figure out how to force turnovers, or two, maybe do a bend but don't break type defense, which I know a ton of people hate that word. But like if they get into the red zone, force field goals, give yourself a shot.
Yeah, I mean, the D-line has to show up about 2 times as good as they have through the first 3 games. They got to find a way. They got to stop the run. Obviously, if USC averages 7 yards a carry, it's over. It's over. But on top of that, like we've complained about all year, you need to find a way to get some sort of pass rush. I don't, and this can fall on Rossi too. There has to be some way to get Maiava a little bit uncomfortable, because if he's sitting back there with time, say they do a great job of stopping Jordan and Sanders in the run game. If you let Maiava sit back there, it's going to be teeth pulling, because he's going to hit Lemon and he's going to hit Lane, and then he's going to dink one down to McCree or this true freshman. So I think I'm actually excited to see what the game plan is defensively from Joe Rossi and company. I think this is now it's year 2, obviously, week 4, first Big Ten game of year 2. Like in order to have some faith in the process on defense, you got to see something Saturday night. So that's one thing I'm looking at for sure is how do they, knowing the personnel, maybe they're not the best at shedding blocks. What is the creative way to counter it, or to put our guys in the best situation to succeed?
Yeah, and you can also send pressure. You can also send blitzes. But then again, you're going to have a one-on-one matchup with these guys, and you're really going to have to hope that no one gets burnt, or you're going to have to come up with some sort of like stunts. I know MSU has tried that a little bit, or you can just ask for one of your guys to win a rep. Like, I know it's easier to just say, hey, can someone please win a rep? MSU struggled with that, but maybe that ends up happening. Maybe you end up getting an outstanding performance. And in my opinion, you talked about Joe Rossi's game plan. This has to be his best game plan he's had at Michigan State if MSU wants to keep this USC offense out of the end zone. Like he has to show a little bit of what he showed at Minnesota, in my opinion, for MSU to win this game. I'm not saying they have to be as dominant, but like come up with creativity, force Maiava to make some throws he's not comfortable with, or maybe throw off like what your look and coverage is like. Like you need to come up with something, like maybe
Something.
show a like show a cover one, but maybe go to like a cover two or cover three. Like try to throw him off a little bit because he hasn't made a mistake yet. You need to
No.
force Maiava to make a mistake.
No, yeah, I mean, we'll see. It's going to be. I think if the initial game plan doesn't work, you you just can't be complacent and hope. Like I like what you're saying. Ask someone to win a rep. I mean, that is like you said, easier said than done. But at the same time, it is true. You could just get someone eventually to win a 1-on-1 against a tackle or something and get home. But I think yeah, you got to see if the defense looks off the bat, or if it's not working off the bat going at halftime, end of first quarter, make some adjustment because there's you've got to do something to stay competitive. I think I heard it on Locked On that they're in the since 22 they're 1-10 against top 25 teams with the average margin of loss in the 30s. Like that is unserious. It's Michigan State. It's not like that's a joke. Like that's not good if for Western playing against Big Ten teams.
Exactly.
The odds makers have USC's team total at 37.5 points, and so that's a high number. You if you want any hope of winning this game, obviously you got to keep them under that, but you got to probably keep them under 30. So it's like there's got to be something done to instill some faith, and not only the fan base and the players too, because if the players feel like they're out there just repeating some repetitive scheme that doesn't work, I mean, they're not going to buy it. They're not going to have faith in themselves. They're going to get into bad habits and stuff like that. So we'll see.
Yeah, and then if you kind of get into the 30-point range, then you have to go on the fact of like, hey, if we need to win this, the offense needs to show up. And this might be a complete shootout, and you have obviously no idea as of right now if Nick Marsh is going to play. You don't know who's going to be necessarily the starting offensive line without Binkett. It doesn't sound like Binkett will be back this year. You don't have you might not have Makai Frazier in this game. You truly need a special performance again from Aiden Childs. And when you have a defender like Bishop Fitzgerald in the secondary at the safety position for USC, he has 3 interceptions this year. This team has 6 interceptions. The only mistake Aiden Childs have made is a tip pass that shouldn't even count, in my opinion. It still
Yeah.
does. But like you're really going to have to see Aiden Childs continue to take that next step and really hope a guy like Nick Marsh is able to play in this game.
You hope anytime you have a guy like Nick Marsh, you take him off the field, the team becomes different. I mean, that's just the truth. And yeah, Aiden's gonna probably have to play a perfect game. I mean, maybe you get out there and USC is not as good as they're made out to be, but the odds makers who tend to be right tend to know what they're doing at least a little bit, think they are. So Aiden is going to probably have to ball out, and you're going to. I mean, what's the running back split going to be like without Frazier? It's going to be Tolliver on the majority of the carries, and then Tullis in
Yeah.
third downs and or in power back situations. So I think that I mean Tolliver ran well. I think that hinders your offense a little bit, though. I think Makai Frazier's probably quicker, but I think yeah, another thing offensively I was looking at is USC has 14 sacks on the year, so that's almost 5 a game through 3 games and beat a dead horse, but they play no competition. That's fine. You still got to have your O-line come and block them because you've got Eric Gentry. He's their leading tackler with 21 on the year. He's got 3 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, so that's a playmaker. You already touched on Bishop Fitzgerald, who's their second leading tackler and has 3 picks. And not only does he have 3 picks, but he has 72 return yards. So he's averaging 24 yards a return. That's not only taking the ball away, but getting their
Flipping the
offense
field.
effectively 2 first downs. And one of them was a pick six. I don't know if I just said that or not. So that I feel like we've kind of just been hinting at this the whole way. Michigan State has their work cut out for them severely. Like this will be by far on paper and according to the books and according to the national media, like this was by far the best team they've played by far on both sides of the ball. So you just got to State's got to play their best game of the year by far. Like that's how it's got to work. Because if you're letting up 40 to Boston College, you're probably letting up 60 to USC. So you got to see something, and you got to make sure the O line keeps a clean pocket, like they've done a pretty good job of this year for Aiden.
Yeah, unless you're in the 2-minute drill, which then they just go kaput, and I don't necessarily know exactly
And
why that happens.
and they ask Aiden to bail us out with his legs, which he does. So hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. No, I'm trolling, but
Yeah, no, it's one of those things that, like, I like this offense for MSU. I think they've been really good so far, but it's too much to ask for to score 50, 60 in this game. Like, you're going to have to keep in the 20s, 30s if you want to win this game. If you don't, it's going to be obviously a long day, and this is, like you were talking about, really the one shot that MSU has this year so far to really prove that it's a team that can compete. And I know there's been a ton of conversations about Jonathan Smith going back to UCLA. Is Jonathan Smith the right guy? We don't have to necessarily get into that. But this is the real game for both of these teams to show that, one, who's the legit team out of there, and two, could both be legit. Because if it's a competitive game at the end of the night, you don't necessarily want to take away good things from a loss if it does happen. But if MSU's right there, that's a much better improvement than what we've seen MSU in the past 10, 11 matchups like you talked about against top 25 teams.
yeah, it'd be a drastic improvement to see competitiveness, and nobody in the Scandalaris building over there right now is talking about wanting to be competitive. So stay with me here if you're listening. The I don't think it's an overstatement to say that a win on Saturday night for Michigan State as 17-point underdogs, as we've referred to 100 times, is monumental. I mean, monumental for the program going forward, but not only that, like 2025 this season. Because again, stay with me. You roadmap this out a little bit. Say you get a win in LA Saturday night. All of a sudden you're 4-0. You're probably not ranked, but you're getting some votes or whatever. The 3 games following, you got the bye week, you got at Nebraska, you've got home UCLA, and you've got at Indiana. Say you start 4-0, you find a way to get 2 out of those next 3 games. All of a sudden you're 6-1. 6-1 going into and you hope you get UCLA because they suck. So if you beat USC, you damn well better beat UCLA.
Absolutely.
And Indiana, we'll see what they're like. But Indiana, Nebraska, that's a hard game. But say you just go 1-1 in those 2 games. You're 6-1 heading into Michigan. All of a sudden, I mean, the spread before the year against Michigan was like, you saw it was down to like 8, right? I think it was
Yeah, something
8.5
like
before
that.
the season. So you pull another smaller upset, but if you're 6-1, they might as well be favored. You're 7-1, and the college football playoff all of a sudden doesn't seem that far away, and that changes it for the fans. That changes it for the players, for the coaches, for recruits, for guys that are going to be entering the portal. That completely changes how Michigan State is viewed as a program. And you get to 7-1, and clearly this team's good enough to screw around and make some things happen. So you never know at that point. And I don't know. I think, like I said, if they could find a way to win Saturday, a train could get rolling quickly, and we could be talking about State in a completely different light in 2 months.
Absolutely. And with the Big Ten schedule, with the Big Ten name that MSU has, you're very well likely getting into a playoff with only 2 losses. And
Oh yeah,
again,
if they go 10-2 with a loss at say Nebraska and home against Penn State, I don't think there's any way you keep them out. I mean, you would have beat USC on the road, Indiana on the road, Michigan at home, so
yeah, exactly. And
Iowa
obviously,
on the road.
yeah, obviously we have probably the horse way in front of the buggy on this one, but
Yeah, oh for sure.
it's
But
just one of those things that if you see a way MSU wins this game, it doesn't necessarily matter how they win it, in my opinion. It could be maybe the ugliest game we've seen all year. Maybe it could be the best game we've seen all year. Maybe it could go into 5, 6 overtimes, and you're seeing teams go back and forth with the 2-point conversion, which sucks in my opinion. That's the worst thing that has ever happened to college football. But one of the
I
worst. We
agree.
can talk about the TV timeouts maybe in another
Yeah, that's probably worse.
episode, probably worse. But yeah, if you win this game, things change. Fans' opinions change. We're not talking about Jonathan Smith possibly ever considering another team at that point. So big opportunity, big game for MSU. Because of that, what's your prediction? Does MSU pull off this win? Is it a close game? Is it what MSU has been kind of seeing as of late? Like maybe like somewhat close in the fourth quarter, maybe end up being like a 3 or 4 point possession loss, like where your head at?
Okay, I don't know if I've ever in my life picked the team I support to lose a game. Um, but I also never in my life have seen Michigan State with a quarterback who can who feels like he could single-handedly win them a game. You can argue he didn't against Boston College, but there's also a fair argument that he did. And the way I mean, if I'm thinking rationally, I do think Michigan State loses, but I'm just I don't know. I'm always going to be hesitant to do that, but I just think if Marsh is playing and Childs is on, and you're going to have to force a turnover in order to win, and if you don't, you probably lose. How about this? I'll give a prediction. If State loses, I think they lose like 41 to like 24, but if they win, I'll give a score. If they squeak one out like 28-24, like somewhere in there. They're going to have to it'll be completely flipped obviously, but I think the offense will get at least 3 touchdowns and will hang in long enough regardless of either way.
Yeah, I just think if you're MSU, you can't go down more than 2 scores in this game. Like,
No,
if you do, you're done.
yeah, you got to come out. I think the blueprint is you come out like you did at Oregon last year on that Friday night. Speaking of, I guess it was only like an 8 o'clock game, but still, I mean, forcing turnovers in the end zone for Oregon. So it's like there were missed opportunities in that Oregon game. That was one of those top 25 games where it's like, okay, Michigan State is pretty respectable, at least in the first half. So I don't know, man.
Ohio State too. You can say those missed
Yeah,
opportunities against Ohio State. Not saying
yeah,
MSU beats Ohio State at all. Not saying that
no,
whatsoever. But it
but
could have been much closer.
yeah, no. So you just gotta. And again, those were opportunities missed in year one, and that's the whole point of a rebuild. And the whole process is year two, you try to take more of those opportunities. So
Exactly.
who knows, man? I don't know. I I think I think it'll be an entertaining game no matter what happens. And the only way you can walk out of it as a state fan completely down and negative on the rest of the years if the defense just gets torched, and that's a real possibility. But I believe in them. I believe in some of the guys that are vets like Wayne and Jordan and Malik and all these guys that have been here or in other programs, played a lot of football in their lives and know what it takes to beat a team a little bit better than them.
Oh, absolutely. And yeah, honestly, I think if you're an MSU fan, for a lot of them, they're just asking to be competitive in this game. And obviously, you hate taking away, like I said earlier, good things from losses because people will always say an ugly win is always better than a loss where you looked really great. Like, I'd rather win than lose and look awful in a win than look great in a loss. But if you're close, you're right there in the fourth quarter. Just figure out a way to win. And if you figure out a way to win, things drastically change. You have the nation, in my opinion, probably talking about you. The Big Ten is on notice. And at that point, it's like, hey, maybe Jonathan Smith is doing what he did at Oregon State. Because even though at Oregon State he won 10 games, people are
Mhm.
talking about Oregon State. And I think that's where MSU needs to get to at this point is just be in the conversation nationally. And if you do that, I think you will be.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think this is such a cliche and everyone always overuses this, but another key, if you're going to try to win a game like this where you're a huge underdog, you got to do the little things right on special teams even. Like if Omari Kelly, again, we talked about this in the recap, if he can rip off another not 80-yard punt return because that's ridiculous, 40-yarder. I mean that's 4 first down. When you think about it, like yardage in football, I feel like gets so over. Like sometimes yards aren't as significant as they seem, but in like those hidden yardage and special teams can be huge because especially say the offense isn't cutting up like they do, but the defense is hanging in, and it's like, okay, Omari just moved the ball for us, or who's going to be back on kick return without Alante, Krishan, and if we
I
could get a
would
kick
think so.
return,
Yeah,
McCray and Tal Tolliver, I think. I don't know.
probably.
Whoever it is, just got to make some plays like you've been referring to for the last couple of weeks. And I think you never know what can happen once you get some plays made.
Let's just not keep fair catching it back there. Like, make a play, make a
No,
difference.
I think the fair catch is so. I think it's pretty dumb.
Let's not go back to like D'Antonio of like
Bra-
17.
Brandon Sowers.
Yeah, Brandon. Let's not go back to
No
Brandon
shade to
Sowers.
that guy, but no, that was just
I felt bad
no.
for him, honestly.
I mean,
Like no one liked him because of what he was doing, and I'm pretty sure the coaching
and
staff just told him to do it.
told them to. Oh yeah, they 100%. Brandon Sowers was the punt returner at Michigan State because Mark D'Antonio told him to go fair catch the ball, do not fumble it, do not muff it. That's all you got to do. And yeah, people hated him, and he was just doing his job.
Yeah, I feel bad for him. Hopefully, he doesn't get any hate at all for that. But
No,
yeah,
I don't think he
make
does.
some plays, do something on special teams. Martin Kyneton make some big kicks, and
Yes, their
let's
kicker's
see if
good.
they
I look.
yeah.
Sayeri's like 6 of 7 on field goals, so block a field goal or block a punt. Do something. You got to do something when you're this big underdogs, and that's what they found a way to do in the D'Antonio years. So if they're gonna get some of that magic back, let's start making some plays.
Absolutely. No, completely agree with you on there. Do you have anything else before we kind of wrap up here that you want to talk about or mention?
I don't know. I feel like I could talk about this game forever, with being the first big game of the year, but
I know truly it is, right?
like,
Like we've talked about previews for Western, obviously, Boston College. I think Boston College was probably our biggest preview at that point, but
yeah,
this truly
Boston
is up
College
there.
felt big, but it was like, all right, like
It's Boston College. I'm
this,
sorry.
yeah, exactly. And this is, it's fun going into a game where you're not expected to win. So I don't know. I don't think I've got anything left. If no,
Yeah, no, and you're 3-0 at this point, right?
yeah, you're 3-0. That's all you can ask for. And if you get to 4-0, like I said, the table clears off pretty quickly. But one thing I actually do want to say before, I want to see more designed runs for Childs. No hurdles, no first half hurdles. I'll give him one in the second if it's close. No first half hurdles, more designed runs, and stay good in the play action game because the play action game I think has been great through 3 weeks.
Yeah, I would also love to see him roll out a little bit more
Yeah,
as
yeah.
well.
That's kind of why I like the play action. Single when they're in the single back, he can come back, play fake, and get rolling to his right.
Do a little bootleg out to the right,
Yep.
let him
Look
use
for
his legs.
Masunis, like Kelly, McCray, if Marsh is out. Obviously, if Marsh is in, he's going for 120. I'm calling it.
Absolutely. Also,
He's going
Velian.
for
I need another big day from Velian and Masunas in this game.
yeah, they're gonna do it. They're gonna do it. If we the longer we talk about this, the more belief I get. So
I know it's one of those things when you longer you talk about like a preview, the more it seems like okay, like we're going to do it. Let's see if we can pull it
it's
off.
like throw me in the booth. I know everything about USC now. Let's do it. Let's go.
Exactly. It's more like the longer you go, the more you believe that this team can do it. I truly think, and I know you do as well, there's talent here, there's positions here that can make a difference. And if these guys show up and the defense steps up, you never know. And if
You
things
never know.
happen,
And you
we'll be
gotta
celebrating on the recap at least.
yeah. No, and you gotta find a way to use the doubt as motivation, as like again, as they always did in the D'Antonio eras and as the basketball team always does a great job of doing. So
Yeah. And it might be one of those games that you just have to muck it up a little bit, play physical football. Maybe the best defense that this team's going to have is keeping the offense on the field or
Yeah.
keeping
Yeah.
USC off the field. Now, if you
Facts.
look at the
That's a good
time
point.
of possession, USC has been averaging, I think, about 30 minutes of time of possession. So I think
Dang.
you're going to have to get that down quite a bit more if you want to muck it up. But just do an old school D'Antonio type offense. Just do 6, 7, 8 minute drives. I know people hated them at that time, but that might be the way you win this game. Is just continue to drive down the field, do 5, 6, 7, 8 minute drives, put it in the end zone, keep USC off the field.
Yeah, no, I think you can adopt that too without being as conservative in the play calls as D'Antonio and Warner and all that regime was. So I think you could, yeah, run some shorter action to Kelly or McCray. Or I'm waiting for McCray. McCray's on the Blinikoff list too, like on the preseason watch list. Like he's got like either that was a complete overhype by the award, or he's got something in the tank that we haven't seen yet. So I'm looking I'm looking forward to seeing what he does on the big stage.
Well, they also did miss Nick Marsh, though. So,
That's what I'm saying. Like there's like d- definitely a first or definitely a second round or better draft pick in 2027 that's not on it
yeah,
for McCray. I don't know. We'll
there
see.
there has to be something there, or
There's
Nick
got to
Marsh,
be.
or they just have no idea who Nick Marsh is.
I saw people that think that they didn't want to put him on there because he didn't transfer. I don't actually believe that, but a
Yeah,
little
we'll see.
agenda pushing, trying to get the big guys into bigger markets. Who knows? But
Yeah, but we will see.
we can.
We'll see if Nick Marsh plays. We'll see if Micaiah Fraser plays. We'll see what happens here, but we'll be up until probably 2 a.m. on Sunday morning at that point. So
Yeah.
maybe record a recap depending on if it's a huge upset at that point. If not, then we'll record and recap at some point later this week. But yeah, no, I'm really excited. I'm glad you were able to join. There will absolutely probably be a longer preview than this, especially the Michigan game, if I would have to assume. But if anyone's still listening at this point, really appreciate you listening. Thank you for joining me.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And that is the end for MSU versus USC. Thank you all for tuning in and tune in to the preview later this week or sometime next week.